The United States Senate will vote today to preserve the rights of women. Well, isn't that something? They will vote today to preserve a woman's right to choose. This is performative, okay? Schumer knows he doesn't have the votes, but remember, Democrats are going to say, I am outraged. This is the most important vote in the history of the Senate. Really? Gotta be kidding me. You guys had 50 years to do this damn vote. This happened in 1973. Roe v. Wade became codified in 1973. What year are we in? 2022. You all had damn near 50 years to make this your absolute top priority. Remember, the US Supreme Court, they bear the function, according to the United States Constitution, of interpreting the law. That's what they are there to do. They have to interpret the laws that Congress will pass. But Congress decided not to codify this ruling into law. They did for other laws, but not this one. The Senate is on track to hold a key vote Wednesday on a bill aimed at preserving access to abortion nationwide. It comes as the US Supreme Court may be poised to overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling as soon as next month, as indicated by a leaked draft opinion. The vote is expected to fail amid widespread Republican opposition to the measure. As a result, the Senate will fall far short of the support needed to overcome the 60 vote threshold needed to pass most legislation in the chamber. There's more. The bill's failure to advance is set to underscore how Democrats are severely limited in what they can achieve with their narrow Senate majority, even as the party faces enormous pressure to take action on abortion rights amid fears that Roe v. Wade will soon be struck down. But holding the vote will give Democrats a chance to spotlight the issue and criticize Republican resistance to passage of the legislation. Can I be very clear? I'm convinced at this point that vast majority of Democrats, they like to be reactionary. They just like to react to things. Now they're outraged, right? Now remember, many of them are on record for agreeing with us. We said from day one, progressives said from day one, they are going after Roe v. Wade, said this years ago. 2019, in the month of May, Alabama passed a ridiculous law that made it illegal in their state for a woman who's raped to even get an abortion, giving a doctor who performed it 99 years, a woman who obtained it 15 to 25 years, and the person who raped the woman only 5 years. That was law in Alabama until another court overturned that insanity. But this was their aim. Their aim, all of these heartbeat bills and everything else was aimed to go to the Supreme Court. Kavanaugh lied during his interview in front of the US Senate when he said this was settled law. Gorsuch lied to the US Senate. All of them lied while they were planning. Republicans have been planning this for years, but we have been saying it. We've been shouting it. We've been telling everyone they are planning to overturn Roe v. Wade. We need statutory dynamics to stop that from happening. We need a US congressional movement. We need an emphasis. We need priority placed right here. But we didn't do it. Those in leadership decided to wait and simply react. Now, should this vote happen? Yes, it's unfortunate, but it should happen. Because while it is performative and primarily political, it will allow at least some level of strategy to be placed on the table against Republicans that oppose it, and maybe even a few Democrats. Because the reality is, we have a minority of people ruling the majority of this country in a way that's contrary to the majority sentiment. The vast majority of Americans support a woman's right to choose. Naturally, the vast majority of women support a woman's right to choose. This is settled, right? But it's not. I thought the idea of a democracy was to be representative of an expression of community, not to be in opposition of it. But right now we have a ruling minority who has been successful at creating adverse legislation, and we're letting them get away with it. There's more. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called the vote one of the, and I quote, most important senators will take, not only this session, but in this century. This is not an abstract exercise. It is real and as urgent as it gets, Schumer said at a news conference on Friday. Where was that energy? Where was that energy? Do you know how many times Democrats have controlled the presidency in both chambers and still did not codify Roe v. Wade into actual law? Here's what I would have done. If you knew that Roe v. Wade was about to be attacked, if you knew the Supremes were lying, if you knew they were going to try and overturn Roe v. Wade, why is it that Democrats did not launch a significant campaign, a preemptive campaign to rally people around the idea of a woman's right to choose? Why did they not have this? Why not have an advocacy campaign that put corporations front and center, where you made corporations go one way or the other? Either you are for a woman's right to choose, her right to privacy, or you are not. Make a decision. And if you are not, then we are saying that women and those that support them should no longer shop with your company. That's preemptive. We didn't even put those strategies on the table. We're just reacting. Anytime you're reacting to someone else, that someone else becomes the guide of your entire leadership model. When you're constantly reacting to what they do, who's in charge then? They are. There's more. The Senate will be voting to advance a version of the Women's Health Protection Act sponsored by Democratic Senator Blumenthal of Connecticut. The bill would codify the right to access abortion into federal law and guarantee the right of healthcare providers to perform abortion services. The House passed version of the bill failed to advance in the Senate earlier this year amid GOP opposition. Once again, this happened in 1973. They have had decades to codify this into law. They put no emphasis behind it. And there's a part of me that truly believes they would prefer to lead in this manner, because if they can keep making people scared, if they can say, oh, yeah, you see what happened? You see what Republicans did? You must reelect us to fight them. They're not going to change the damn thing, because it's as if in order for them to remain in power, I'm talking about corporate Democrats, they gotta be in reactionary mode all the time. But if you just solve problems rather than reacting to them, you would make the Republican Party obsolete, because Republicans are contrary to the majority of this country on damn near every subject, from education to access to healthcare, access to prenatal care, equal pay for equal work. Republicans on the wrong side of virtually every single political issue in this country, and they're still more powerful than the Democrats who are supposed to be in position to run something. Isn't that ironic? Ben, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to it. I mean, first and foremost, right? People who are anti-choice represent maybe about 20% of the country, right? People who want abortion to be explicitly illegal represent an even smaller subset of the people who are already anti-choice. This is an extremist minority, and the reason why, and this is where it just gets so infuriating, right? Let's be clear about how we got here, about how the right wing made abortion a controversial issue. Because here's the thing, it's not a controversial issue. Most people agree with abortion, but because the right wing committed literal acts of terrorism, there were a bunch of Democrats who were basically scared. And they were like, we can't talk about abortion. We can't talk about abortion because we know how the anti-choice weirdos are. And they stalked people at their houses, they bombed people, they stabbed people. That is what the anti-choice crowd was busy doing. And the Democratic Party's response to that is basically to completely stay silent on abortion issues. And specifically, if you look at like Nancy Pelosi, for example, was out campaigning for Henry Cuellar, who is anti-choice.
Yep.
And this extremist minority has now gotten themselves in a position where they have a majority on the Supreme Court. They got appointed by presidents who are not representative of the majority of Americans, right? People who lost the popular vote were able to put them on the Supreme Court. And amid all of this, what are the Democrats doing? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and make a claim here. I think that where we were last year, right, in the year 2021, we had reached all of the progress Democrats wanted to make, at least Democratic leadership. We had reached all of the progress, right? To them, women were equal enough, queer people were equal enough. We had reached the level of progress that they were satisfied with. So I think that they are giddy, that they are excited, they are happy that Roe v. Wade is being overturned because now they get to see themselves as being the freedom fighters once again, bringing back people's right to an abortion when they're just letting us all go completely backwards. And they're doing this all while they say they're holding up these traditions like the filibuster, these norms, all while Republicans don't care about these traditions. They don't care about these norms. You think these Supreme Court justices care about democracy or representation or historical precedent or norms? You think Donald Trump cares about any of that? It's just a joke and it's pathetic. And the Democrats are playing a game that the Republicans have already abandoned long time ago.
That is so correct. And Biden, as I've said before, is an institutionalist. He thinks there's something sacred about the institution of the presidency. So he's not going to do certain things because even though it's legal for him to do, it violates the institution of the presidency. It's not a damn thing sacred about that institution. The only thing sacred are the voters who put you there. That's it.